Hey everybody, this is Curtis from PSNStores.com. Today we're going to be taking a look at Cosmic Star Heroine. This came out on PS4 a little over a week ago. It is developed by Zeboyd Games. They've done games like Cthulhu Saves the World. They did Episode 3 and Episode 4 of the Penny Arcade RPG Adventure series. Breath of Death as well. I've played most of them, so... this game was on Kickstarter a few years ago. It's been kind of a long time in development. So some of the heavier inspirations were something like a Chrono Trigger or Phantasy Star. But this game is really, really good. The battle system especially is really, really good. So we're going to take a look at the opening. I am in my current save file. I'm about 10 hours in. This game is supposed to be like 15 to 20 hours long, so I don't necessarily feel like I'm halfway through it. I think I might be a little over a third of the way through the game. I'm not entirely sure. So review forthcoming on that front. But until then, let's hop in. So you have 4 different difficulty settings. You've got Tourist, Agent, Heroine, and then Super Spy. I am playing on Heroine right now. This is for those who love challenge. It's got harder enemies, regular credit rewards, and additional enemy abilities. You can change the difficulty at any point in the game, and there are no difficulty-related trophies. So you're kind of free to do whatever. Super Spy is described as for those who love mastery. The hardest enemies have credit rewards, additional enemy abilities, desperation costs doubled. I've not tried that yet, although I hear it is very difficult. So we'll just do, I've kind of viewing this Heroine as a normal difficulty. It's been about perfect, as far as difficulty is concerned thus far. So this game has a fair amount of these like kind of short little sort of animated sequences. I like them. Most of them are just, you know, a few seconds long. They're not super lengthy or anything or extravagant. It's nice little sequences to have at different story beats. So we're just gonna we're gonna go through the kind of the intro of this game, which should be about 30 or so minutes. We'll see. So you play as Alyssa LaSalle, and so she is being sent in the intro to this game. She is being sent on this this really big mission. There's like this hostage crisis. We don't know too much about what's going on just yet, but we're being sent in to kind of hopefully figure out what's up, free the hostages, and make it out alive. But as you'll see, there's some other stuff going down as well. So. We got Dave here. Dave's our resident hacker guy. There's an agency supply chest in the alleyway up ahead. It should contain everything you need to get in. Sorry you had to sit this one out. I feel more at home away from the action anyway. Less chance of sudden violent death. I don't detect anything organic in your vicinity. Just some positronic movement. Standard corporate defense systems, I'm guessing. Nothing I shouldn't be able to handle. How are the hostages? Safe for now, but no point in taking chances. Get in and out before the bad guys realize we're spoofing their surveillance footage. Sounds like plan. Okay. So we'll be able to see a good amount of the combat. Some with just a single person in your party, and then we'll have a second person join later on. And so Zeboyd Games, that's your developer. Hyperdux Soundworks is people behind the soundtrack. Soundtrack's been pretty good so far. Alright, so here's our first tutorial. It's talking about style and hyper. So performing different moves in combat will increase your style, which is represented by the percentage below your health. More style equals more damage and ailment success. Enemies gain style too. The longer the battle lasts, the more dangerous they become. Besides style, characters gain a hyper point each turn. When a character reaches their max hyper amount, they go into hyper mode. In hyper mode, your damage and ailment success is doubled. plan ahead and make sure you have a powerful ability ready to take advantage of hyper mode. Alright, so here we have just a simple 1v1. What I really like about this game, and again, you know, I'm about 10 hours in and I still feel this way, and like so far it has not betrayed these feelings that I, within the first 30 minutes or so, was having about the combat in this game. So here's what we're looking at, right? Top left is just your character, and as you get more people in your party, well, they'll be underneath your character as well. So 49 is just your HP. It's also represented by that orange bar. 5% is your style. So as it said, both you and your enemies will gain style as the battle progresses. The longer battles go on, you could potentially have characters with, you know, upwards, I think it's as high as 300% style. Which, as I mentioned, you know, that has a direct impact on the kind of damage you can do, but also your resistance to different ailments. And then the blue, the little squares below your health, that is the hyper meter. So each character has, it works a little bit differently. So for our main character, Alyssa, on her first go around, it just takes 2 turns to enter hyper mode. After that, it's every 3 turns. Some characters, it's 5 turns and then every 2. Some characters, it's just every 3 turns. It kind of differs depending on who's in your party. But it's super important to keep that in mind, because as it mentions in that tutorial, you're going to want to have a pretty strong attack ready to go when you enter hyper mode. And one thing that also plays into that, so we have in the bottom left, we have our skill tab. We've also got this, I think it's just prog. So right now she has breather, which is just a simple defend and then restore HP. And then the middle tab is items, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So we have 4 options right now. We have a simple bash, which is just physical damage. But you notice it says you can reuse it. You look at laser, pierce damage, that just impacts 1 enemy. Drown, water damage, 1 enemy. And then first aid restores HP to an ally. And then we have this rest command, so it's defend 25% and then recharge abilities. So everything and as far as the combat's concerned, your skills, your programs, and your items, they're all consumable within, or they're not consumable like you would imagine any other RPG, where it's like, oh, I gotta go stock up on potions, right? Because I've only got 1 potion left, I need to buy more because I'm heading into a dungeon. In this game, you'll get an item that is a potion, and then you just have that. And for that specific item, you can use it once per battle, but it recharges between battles. And so for skills, what you have is a lot of these skills, you use them once, and you can then, in order to use them again, you'll have to rest and recharge those abilities. And then later on, you'll get other more complicated skills where it's like, oh, well, you can use this multiple times, or maybe you can use this and then that might directly impact another skill. Like, you know, they start tying into each other in interesting ways as you progress further. So for right now, we can look at this Robo-Dog, just a minor nuisance to a trained API agent. So the Robo-Dog's got 100 HP and is weak to water. So knowing it's weak to water, where it's like, well, okay, I've got a water damage attack or skill, I should save that for my next turn when I enter hyper mode. So for now, we'll just use a simple bash. And then of course on the right side, you've got your turn order, which comes in handy, you know, later on where you can kind of figure out when enemies are going to attack, when your allies are going to be able to move, things like that. And then now we're in hyper, so we're glowing. I can use my water damage. And so that's going to be double. So normally I would have done like 40-ish damage with my water spell, and now I'm doing, you know, 89. So that's a pretty simple look at the combat system. You also end up getting skills that will charge your style by like 20 or 30%. You'll get skills where it's like, hey, you can use this, it'll do this specific action, but it will also charge your style. Some of them like add or subtract hyper meters, so that you can reach hyper faster, or maybe it will take 1 more turn, but then you'll get a bonus effect as well. And those are skills that you'll earn by leveling up or any number of different reasons. And of course, every ally has their own unique kind of skill set as well. So this is just talking about what I explained with items and different abilities. So this should be giving us a something specific we can use. Oh, another thing I actually really like about this game, coming off Persona 5, one thing this, like, in not just Persona 5, there's a lot of RPGs where you'll be dungeon crawling, and it's like, okay, there's, you know, you can go down different paths to find different treasure chests, and sometimes those chests will have like a pretty good item or a good weapon, but then there are other times where it's like, it almost feels worthless to even get anything in that chest, because it's like, well, whatever I'm getting, like, at this point in the game, it doesn't really mean anything, or it's not really anything I'm going to use. What I like about this is the way the battle system's handled, because it's all, you know, it's 1 or 2 time uses. It's like 1 use for items, right, in a battle, but they recharge between battles. So really, like, anything you're going to get actually matters. And it can be used, it basically gives you something else to use in combat, which has its own uses, and it's really, like, it makes it worth exploring areas. And I feel like anytime I see a treasure chest, I know that I'm going to get something that's good, or I know I'm going to get something that's useful. So in this case, we got a shield breaker, and this is incredibly useful. It's something I use almost every fight. So this inflicts vulnerable. So what we'll do right now is we got these grapple drones, both 60 HP, so not too bad. So we'll inflict vulnerable on one of them. Doesn't always work. There are some enemies there, it seems like there's a percentage chance of it failing. But now that I've done so, I am in hyper mode now. They are weak to water. I can do a pretty hefty amount of damage. One of my favorite things actually about this game is, I might want to heal, is like being smart about things and knowing when you're about to enter, like when a certain character is going to be entering hyper mode. So like using different character abilities to stack like attack buffs, and then also using like your item to inflict vulnerable on an enemy, and doing different things to stack up so that when they do attack, they're doing like over thousands worth of damage, and it feels good. It's just awesome. Like, it's really, really, it's just fun. It's fun to be able to pull that kind of stuff off. In this case, I kind of screwed up here. I should have rested last turn, but whatever. Should still be okay. And yeah, so everything recharges between fights. Like, your HP recharges, your ability uses, and everything like that. So there's no MP system at all, which I don't necessarily have an issue with in any other RPG, but I love it here. You know, I love that what this does, the way things recharge between fights, and how limited those uses are. Like, you know, you can't just keep spamming the same move over and over again. You can potentially use any given skill any number of times in a fight, but you have to recharge between uses. So there's a lot of strategy involved in how you're going to plan out each battle. And what happens is, like I said, like even 10 hours into this game, I feel like every single fight has meant something, or everyone has been exciting or interesting in some way. Which is something that, like, I don't know you can say about very many RPGs. Like, here we got a cool little intro for our second party member, Khan, I guess. I would assume that's how you pronounce her name. But normally in a lot of other RPGs, it's like you get to a point where a lot of your just kind of generic fodder enemies, you just kind of mash the attack button to get through them as you go through like dungeons, like especially if you're leveled up high enough. And so it kind of becomes, sometimes it can get kind of annoying running into like the weaker enemies. In this case, it's all like every fight is exciting, it's interesting. And they're not just pushovers. So we got a second person on our team now. We can actually go into the menu here. A few different things I want to point out, so we can look at abilities. So eventually you'll have much more that you've learned, and so you can kind of have your own skill set up as well. Right now we've only got 4. And we can look at Khan's abilities. So she is a gunmancer, so she's got a lot of gun-related abilities. So we got a regular pistol, heal blaster. We've got this really cool focus move, which, so the next gunmancy affects all targets. So one thing I like to do is use that before going hyper. And then I have an ability right now, which is like a fire gun move. And so like if I have a bunch of enemies I'm fighting that are weak to fire, that setup works really well. We can also look at your equipment that we have. So every character they have a weapon, they have a shield, and they have an accessory. So if you look at your weapon, sometimes like along the right side they'll have some special unique abilities as well that you might unlock by having it equipped. Sometimes those abilities require, I've seen a lot of like requires 36 hackitude, which is one of your stats on the left hand side. So aside from max HP, you've got Physique, Hackitude, Spark, Cunning. It seems like certain abilities, the amount of damage or how effective they are depending on those stats. The game doesn't really explain some of that. There's some of the more intricate details I think the game doesn't really do a great job explaining. It's more you just kind of gotta figure it out on your own. So maybe could be better about that. For your shield, here's a good look at this stuff. So like, you have your basic shield stats, and then on the right we have a breather. So that's what granted our defend and heal ability. But once you get your hackitude to 28, you'll get heal wave, and then at 56 you'll get revive. And so you can kind of, as you're like going to different shops and stuff, you can find some things, some equipment like this, and you can see different abilities you might be able to unlock later on. And then your accessory. So, and then items is the same. So this kind of just our look at our one item. Thus far, even where I'm at, I think I just have the 3 slots. I'm pretty sure. I don't think I've unlocked a 4th slot yet, so I'm not really sure how to do that just yet. Party does not unlock until actually, I only just now unlocked the party command after kind of a key story moment, and that, as you can imagine, kind of lets you designate who's in your party. It also lets you designate a sub-party member, and they'll appear in the bottom left right above your credits. And they don't actually join fights with you, but they give you special like passive boost, which is kind of interesting. And it seems like you'll be able to recruit a lot of different sub-party members, which is kind of interesting. The battle command is also I don't think I've seen anything explaining it, but it basically enters you into a VR battle, which seems to be, from what I can tell, it's open in different spots. But it basically triggered a fight that I had like just won, and I was able to kind of do that, and I guess essentially grind if I wanted to. Although I should stress, thus far I have not had any reason to grind at all. The game is, thus far, really, really well balanced, I think. Especially on heroine difficulty. Anyways, let's continue. So basic tutorial number 3, Desperation. Normally, losing all HP knocks a character out for the rest of the battle, usually, but not always. If you have enough style points, 50 on most difficulties, you can survive with negative HP. This is called Desperation mode. In Desperation mode, damage is increased, but self-HP restoration is reduced. If a character is still in Desperation mode at the end of their turn, they get knocked out. Heal quickly or go out with a bang. You can also save at any time, which I also really appreciate. You just easily access it from the system menu. So Desperation mode's also pretty interesting. We'll probably see it soon. Let's see. So let's start out with... Let's do... So we got these hooligans. and Hooligan and Thug. Likes to shoot, that's about it. He's got a heart of gold, but you never know it. Let's go for Hooligan first. Alright, so Desperation Mode. My character currently has a -5 HP. If I do not heal her this turn, not that it matters because I'm going to kill this guy pretty quick, but if I was in a battle where there were more enemies, then obviously the battle wasn't going to end very soon. If I didn't heal her this turn, she'll die. So I basically have a choice. I can have, I believe it's plus 50% to my attack currently. So if I did an attack, I'd kill him, so it'd be fine. But I could basically choose between two things, as it demonstrated in that tutorial of, you can attack right now and have a kind of a 50% boost to your attack. Or you could heal and then continue on from there. And so it really depends. I think it's the way I've been doing it for me mostly is I usually try to heal those characters if I can. Sometimes I just don't have the choice. Sometimes I've used my heal command, and so I would have to rest to get it back, but doing that would kill them. And so it's like I don't have a choice, so I have to attack. It all depends on kind of how you've planned things out. But in this case, as has been the case for me sometimes too, I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where I can just kill this guy. At least on this turn. I thought I'd get him there. And I'm fine. And another thing I do like is you also get like the same amount of experience that you normally would if you were still alive. So any dead party members at the end of battle are not losing out on anything. So it's pretty forgiving in that respect, but I do appreciate that. So Poison Mist. We can poison enemies, causing it to take damage each turn. It only works on living things, though, no robots or ghosts. And so again, we can go to items and equip Poison Mist. Alright, so we've got Robo-Dog. Let's do our usual setup. Now poison is not going to impact this guy, so we're good. We'll do some buffs. The other thing to note, so the programs, at least the ones I have seen thus far, are one use in battle only. You cannot recharge them. That might be different. There might be others you can find later in the game that are multiple use, but thus far they have been one-time use only. It is the skill, and same for item. Like I cannot recharge Shield Breaker. These skills I can recharge by resting. Your item and your programs you cannot. So another thing to keep in mind. So we're in hyper. He's weak to water. Should take him out. There we go. Another thing to keep in mind, as you saw there with Khan, like when she used that gun move, it did like 18 damage. It's not great. So like another thing as far as this combat system is concerned, like you could potentially, beat enemies just by doing like simple attacks. but that's not going to get you very far. Like, it really does emphasize, even on encounters that maybe aren't going to be super difficult, it emphasizes you using these different buffs and debuffs and using special skills and taking advantage of hyper mode and desperation and your style points as well. Like, all that stuff really matters, even in maybe some easier combat encounters, which again I think just goes a long way in making this something that never really gets boring, and you know, making it something where every, like I said, every encounter like means something. Every encounter is actually interesting, and you never like find yourself just kind of mashing buttons to get through. Inspire. Boost damage by 40% for one ally for 3 turns. Alright. So we are sort of close to the end of this intro sequence. We've got our hostages here. One thing we won't see, and another thing that I think could maybe be done a little better, when you go to shops, when you're like buying different equipment and weapons and stuff for your party members, I don't think, I think it's fine for the most part. I don't know that it doesn't necessarily does a great job of demonstrating, or letting you compare your stats between your currently equipped equipment and then anything that you were looking at buying, or some of that stuff just seems like not the best at like demonstrating exactly what, like how good something is. It's not awful, but I think it could be a little better. And I feel, I don't know, I think there is like a compare button if you buy it. If you buy the piece of equipment, like if you buy a weapon, I think you can then go in and compare it. Other than just swapping between the two, I think there actually is a place where you compare. But like in the shop itself, I don't think there's anything like that available. Could be mistaken, but I feel like I'm pretty sure that's the case. It's just kind of the general UI of the shops I think could be a little better. But it doesn't, you don't really spend a lot of time in the shop, so it kind of doesn't really matter too much, at least. So we're gonna have the last couple little fights here. So let's see, what do we got? So we got Ruffian and Thug, Bully with a gun, and we got Groff, and not a 2-bit Thug, at least a 16-bit Thug. So 260 HP, okay, and 120. Let's just go for Groff, I guess. Maybe. Could probably get a pretty good hit in on him. See what we can do. 176, not bad. Alright, we are going to use Inspire and Con. So she'll enter hyper mode. Have what was it, like plus 40%? In addition to the hyper mode increase, that should be a pretty good bump. Not bad. And just out of curiosity, yeah, I was gonna say Groff should be really close. So 9 HP and then 36 each. So pretty good. Okay. Fortunately, we don't have any. She doesn't have any moves that affects everybody. We'll play it safe for now. We'll heal. Let's see. Let's take Groff out. Got it. Okay. It's going to lead into another boss fight here. Groff's going to get in his mech. And we're back at it. So, this one's just a 2v1, so not as much to worry about. And he is weak to water, which helps. Watch out for the laser beam attack. So 550 HP. Let's do our thing. What do we got? Actually, we'll buff her for now. $222. Very good. $59. Might be able to take him out with his laser. Maybe. Close, very close. Okay. Leveling up. Groff is down. You think you've won, but everyone in this building is about to die. This music is good. So yeah, there's a time bomb as well, other than just the hostages. So essentially, we're in a tower in the middle of the city. Bomb goes off here. Considering the building it is in, it's bad news. So it's kind of where we split up, and then we do a quick little run to defuse said bomb. So we'll wrap up on that. Yeah, so this Cosmic Star Heroine, it is out now. It is $15. On PS4. There's a Vita version coming. I don't know exactly when. I think it's supposed to be pretty soon. It is really great so far. Again, on my own playthrough, I'm about 10 hours in. I'm thinking probably a little over a third of the way through. Not entirely sure. I think I'm on like chapter 7. I do not know how many chapters there are. But it's great. I really, really like it so far. I would say that combat system is a clear highlight. I think the story feels like it's really starting to pick up right now. I think the first few hours, like, it's kind of interesting. I was a little unsure about it. But really, like, the last 3 or 4 hours I put into this game, I feel like the story and kind of different events are really starting to pick up, and I'm getting really excited to see where it goes now. Like, I actually think, like, oh, this seems to be leading into some really interesting places. So I'm super curious. I don't know what to expect, but I do feel like I'm at a point now where it's really picking up. and becoming more than just a game that I can praise for its combat and music. I think everything else around it is starting to pick up as well. So very excited to see where that goes and how things turn out on that front. But a cool little opening to this game. It expands quite a bit. You know, once you get more party members and you learn more abilities and different skills, you get a lot more options in combat. But hopefully that's a pretty good look at what you could expect from the combat system and how it kind of works. It's really, really strong. It is it's definitely like, it's one of my favorite kind of turn-based combat systems I've played recently. I just really love how everything works. Like, I think it's super well balanced. I like that I can go into a fight and know, like, with every single fight, I'm going to have all of my abilities, all my items, and everything ready to go. So, and the fights are designed around that as well. So, like I said before, every single fight has mattered. Every single fight has been interesting and fun and challenging in their own unique ways, and it's like, it's been great. And I feel like, at least at this point, I'm deep enough into the game where I feel like that's really impressive. Like, I haven't got to a point where it's like, oh, this is just some fodder enemies, let me just smash my way through it. Like, nope, you need to really think about it and be strategic with every move you do, and I like that quite a bit. So, anyways, that is Cosmic Star Heroine. Thank you for watching as always, and until next time, I'll see you later.